What's up, guys? Welcome into Good Morning Lambeau. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. You can find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us 865-658-5824. I'm joined alongside Tim, live in Green Bay. We got Carly on the line with us as well. In here to talk a little Packer football, but we'll also talk a little NFC championship game there, as that game last night got wild quick in the second half. We were live on the air going, man, looks like the Lions got this one in the bag, and not so fast, my friend. Tim, how you doing this morning, man?
Doing great. Detroited.
Yes, they did. And Dan Campbell, right? There's no doubt about that. That's the big talk today, is obviously the going for it there on fourth down when you could have kicked a field goal to, I believe, tie it up, if I remember correctly, there a little bit earlier in the fourth quarter, if I was looking at the box score correctly. We'll hit on that in a second. Carly, how you doing this morning?
I am doing all right. I'm kind of sad for the Lions. I was looking forward to the story being changed for them. I mean, they did an amazing thing this season, and it was pretty cool to watch. But I am kind of sad for how it ended there.
Yeah, I was rooting for the Lions as well. I was. I say rooting, but it's one of those at the end of the game you go, couldn't happen to a better team. But at the same time, actually it could have been the Vikings. But when it comes to the 49ers though, man, I was so ready to blast George Kittle for saying the go Pack, go the F home, on the McAfee show. But they pulled it out, man. You got to give them credit. And listen, I know there's still a lot of Brock Purdy slander. I just don't understand it. I got to be real with you guys. And I know I'm in the minority when it comes to Packer fans. Everybody's saying he's a fraud. He ain't that good, blah, blah, blah. When you look at what he did in that game, scrambling and everything, he did whatever it took to win that ball game. When you look at it, he was 20 of 31 for 267. He had the interception, but he also had a touchdown. He outplayed Jared Goff just about in every statistical category except for the, passing yards, where I think Goff had 273, but Purdy had 267. Had a little bit higher passer rating at 89.0. Goff's was 88.8, and then QBR 88.1. Goff's was 59.9. Then you tack that on with those just crucial runs, right? Brock Purdy had 5 carries for 48 yards. I just don't understand it. People are like, oh, he's a fraud. He's not that good. And I'm just like, I don't get it, man. Listen, I hate that he's the 49ers quarterback too. I really do. And I'm going to root against him. But at the end of the game, it's like that dude played scrappy. And it's something that we're going to have to deal with in the NFC. I think everyone would agree. Some could argue that we're the number 2 team in the NFC. That's just wild to me, that's actually a realistic thing, that the Packers might be the second best team in the NFC. Some would say we're the first. Some would say we're the third. Right there, as long as you're in the top 5 in your conference, you're always going to have a shot to get another championship. But I don't know, Tim. Did you watch the whole game, man?
Yeah, I did. Mm-hmm. And I don't feel bad for Detroit, so I'll happily, I experienced firsthand the fan base and the disrespect they showed when they were in Lambeau Field last season.
That's
so I don't feel bad for them at all. I'll never feel bad for a division rival choking in the playoffs. Like I said, Detroited. That's what they do. And I don't feel bad. No, not at all. I'll tell you what, though, that has nothing to do with respect and respecting what Dan Campbell and his staff did with that football team. So hats off to them for a great season. They went further than we did. So you have to acknowledge that. But I feel no pity, no pain for Detroit or their fans at all. And like a lot of people said last night, can both teams lose? Like we had no dog in the fight. And I guess I'm not totally alone, because I'm with you, Clayton, on the Brock Purdy conversation. Say what you want about the kid being a little vanilla, little plain Jane, if you will. I've heard a lot of comments about him just being a guy, not the guy. That dude played like a guy refusing to not go to the Super Bowl, and that's what you need in a championship game. So yeah, I don't know. He led a comeback against us and a more impressive comeback against Detroit. And maybe them beating Kansas City and the refs on Super Bowl Sunday will give his stock a little bit more rise going forward. But yeah, I got to tip your cap to the Niners. Shanahan called a hell of a game too.
Yeah.
Can I be the devil's advocate here about Brock Purdy just for
Absolutely.
interest's sake?
Yes,
So
absolutely.
50 of those passing yards came off of a helmet, like, the opposing team's helmet, and then his guy caught it. So are those yards, if you take off those 50 yards, is it still as good of a game as far as the stat line goes for him?
No,
Because that's a lot.
obviously,
50 is a lot.
obviously it would be less yards. Yeah, it's just, I remember people plucking the same kind of stats against Brady when he was young, and then we look up years later and it's like, how many Super Bowls has he won? Like, I don't know. If you take into consideration plays like that, Carly, I think everything becomes really, really difficult to keep up with, to keep score. You know what I mean?
No,
So,
no, I
but
totally
I think it
understand.
is worth mentioning for sure.
Yeah.
It's not like he played flawless, by no means. The thing that stood out to me was kind of like what Tim was saying there toward the end when he was just scrambling. It was just like, there is nothing
Mhm.
downfield. I'm going to do whatever I got to do to get my team this dub. And then after, as soon as he was calm, collective the whole time, and the second it was over and he kneeled that ball, you see how fired up he was. You see Kyle Shanahan lead him. It's like Kyle Shanahan's got his quarterback, just like we've got ours. But I don't know. It was a fun game to watch, though, watching the comeback and everything. The thing that stood out to me, well, let's go to the chat here real quick. Donovan Schilling said they were winning the Super Bowl. The lie detector test determined they were lying. Lion. I see what you did there. I see what you did there. And then Ron Samble said, I just read that Lions kicker 75% on 40 to 49 yards and 45% on 50 plus. I don't know if it's accurate, but it could be a reason for the decisions. Could be. They had the ball at, let me look at the box score here, the play-by-play. I'm trying to think over that. I thought they were at the 30, if I remember right. Let's see.
Yeah, and they've only had that kicker for like 4 games, I think, right? Like they've definitely had a kicker problem over the season, I think.
Yeah.
Here's another game we're trying. Let's put it all on the field goal kicker. Let's put it all on the coach for not sending the kicker out. But nobody's talking about Detroit's defense getting dog walked in the second half of that game. So,
I think it's safe to say Aaron Glenn's not going to get a head coaching job.
Yeah, and it's tough to argue with the logic when you lose by 3 points, right? You got to think you passed on 2 field goals. Do you win that game by 3 points if you take those field goals? I memean, the world may never know, but again, it doesn't explain your defense, which has been, pretty stout this year. They just kind of folded,
Yeah. They did have the ball at the 30 when they decided to go for it on 4th and 3. So you tack on the 10 for the end zone, that's 40 plus the 7 for the setback. So that would have been a 47-yarder. So
yeah, not a gimme by any means.
Right. But if you look at the statistics that he just showed here, you were saying that, 75% of the times he hits that kick. I'm kicking the field goal there. I'm so sick of this. I'm just going to be real for a second. I'm so sick of the analytics. Brandon Staley was the one leading the charge with this, you got to be aggressive and go for it on 4th down. What did it get him? How many freaking games this year as Packer fans did we see a situation where it's like, Matt, if you had just taken the points.
Yeah, analytics are ruining the game. They really are.
And here's the thing that Michael Lombardi talks about and other old football heads that people call dinosaurs and make fun of. But the analytics does not factor in the momentum of the game. Analytics doesn't factor in that the 3 of the 5 plays that's on your play call sheet in a 4th and short situation, they have done an excellent job shutting down all the way throughout the game, because you understand those plays could end up in a 2nd and short or a 3rd and short scenario too. Those are your favorite plays in short down distance. They don't take those things into consideration to just look at the analytics and go, okay, forget who's healthy on the field right here at this specific moment. It doesn't take that into consideration either. I don't know if Greenlaw came back, but let's just use that as an example. What if Greenlaw, one of their best linebackers, isn't on the field in that specific situation? And you're going to lean on the analytics that suggests you should go for it or should not go for it, not even knowing who's on the field. The analytics doesn't understand all of those aspects to the momentum of the game. And when you mention that, when, you being Michael Lombardi, these analytics geeks are just, what a dinosaur. That's why you're not in the league. Okay. And that's why Dan Campbell was holding back tears at the podium. And I know he would do it again. There's no doubt about that. But if Bill Belichick had decided to go for it instead of kick all those field goals all those years, he'd probably have half the rings he's got, to be honest with you. I think that's the difference, me personally. So
those are the same people that bury their head in stat sheets and analytics, and they don't even watch football really.
Right.
They're just looking at numbers. And those are great analytics, data, all of these metrics. They're great for when you're putting together a game plan, when you're looking at, post game, what did we miss? What did we do well? They can help a coaching staff. They can help players understand what's happening on the field. But if you're going to sit there and like, root your game calls and everything that's happening, like you said, momentum, things that are going on the field. You had a little bit of rain, all these things that happen, it can bite you. It really can. But I think it's live by the gun, die by the gun. Dan Campbell's been this way all year. You knew what time it was. They were gonna go one speed, foot on the gas. It didn't surprise me that he went for it twice. It really didn't.
No, not at all. Not as soon as the situation was it dropped. He's going. Think about this too. Remember the Cowboys game with the controversial illegal man downfield, all that. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Remember he went for it, got it. Went for it again. I think got it. There's 2 penalties called, and then decided to go for it a third time. And it's like that cost him that game. And people say no, it was the refs that cost him the game. BS. Like the refs are. I think we would all agree the refs are going to make mistakes.
How many signs do you need to just kick the freaking extra point?
Right. It's just wild, man. I don't know. And again, I know I'm old fashioned, but take the freaking points. You take the points in that situation, and you put the pressure back on the other team. Like, if you kick the point there or kick the field goal on 4th and 3, if you miss it, you know what? Okay, we tried. You know what I mean? It is what it is. This whole just got to go. If you kick that field goal, if I'm looking at the score correctly, what is that? That music playing.
I don't hear it. What do you got going?
They're getting an ad in here. All right. It was what were we promoting right there? Let's see. Some kind of car. Cool. I think it's a Lexus. All right, go get.
I wasn't hearing it either.
It was just on my end. I was like, what in the world? So in that situation, if you just kick the field goal, right, and you tie it up, there's how much time left in the game? 9 minutes left in the game, if I'm looking at that correctly. Let's see. No, 7:32 left. You tie it up. Now you put the pressure back on San Francisco and Brock Purdy. Instead, right, what do? You go for it on 4th down. You give them the ball back. They go right down the field and score a touchdown. That's literally a 10-point swing. Yep. And then you wonder why you lost the game. You go back down, score another touchdown, right, to put it within 3, and then of course you got to depend on an onside kick. I don't know.
That's an example of putting pressure on your defense. Your offense is coming down there, they're not getting points, or your coach is not attempting to take the little 3 points, which are so freaking valuable in playoff football. You take the points, it's playoffs. There is no next week if you lose. You need points on the board. That's kind of, I'm not going to say demoralizing, but it doesn't help your defense when they all got to trot out there on the field and go, okay, let's get a stop here and hopefully give our offense another chance. And, you can't do that. That's not complimentary football. But, hey, it's real easy for us to sit here on Monday morning and criticize Dan Campbell. And I'm not willing to do that. Like I said, I can't stand Detroit and their fans, but I got a lot of respect for their coach and their staff and a handful of the players on that team. So I don't think it's fair to put it all on Dan Campbell. They lost as a team. They did.
Right. And that's in no way am I saying that. It's just I just don't understand how many times it's got to happen across the league before someone goes, maybe we should rein this in just a bit. Jeff Silke in the chat says, not to mention, Clayton, when going for it fails, it hands the momentum back to the other team. It absolutely does. I'm
all for it on you miss on, or you're going for it on 4th and goal, you get stuffed, and now your opponent's got to go 99 yards. Okay.
And you're putting them on the 3-yard line or the 2-yard line, and their goal is the first 2 downs are probably running the ball. So you're taking a chance of them making a huge mistake, a safety, a sack, a fumble, a strip fumble, an interception, trying to force it on 3rd down to get you some space to punt. There's a lot more things can go right there. It's just this whole, I don't know. But it did lead to the onside kick. Carly, did you have a comment or a question or something about onside kick?
I do, but just for Tim, I just want to hit this because this is what happened after the Lions lost the game.
Oh no! We suck again.
I love it.
No.
Oh, so did you see? I forgot who tweeted it, but it was great. Somebody tweeted last night. They said, "Show me Ford Field now, you cowards."
Yeah,
because they were showing the fan watch party like all afternoon, all evening.
Yeah, what's it looking like now?
Once they caught that L, they didn't show it.
Exactly. Go ahead, Carl.
So my question, and this, Tim, will be you'll have something to say, is about like technique or strategy for onside kick, because my husband, actually, I have to credit him. He had this idea as far as like making the onside kick just a more viable option, because I think it's maybe been 2 or 4 onside kicks that have been actually recovered this year by the kicking team. So his idea was, what if you find a really, like a soccer player or some really accurate kicker that can just put it wherever they want and then just basically kick it as hard as they can in a straight line, straight at the opposing team, whoever's lined up right there, and just literally try and bounce it off them. If
Yeah.
that would give them a better chance of recovering it, because then you get that touch from the other team, and then it's coming back your way, so it's headed towards you. I don't know. What do you guys think?
It's definitely a strategy, right, Tim? People have done it before.
They have, but I mean, we have to remember that the competition committee they're trying to remove that from the game. I mean, they've ruined. It was already very difficult to recover an onside kick, and now you got guys that can't move, until the ball's kicked. The rules are a little different. I do agree with the logic, because I think what we've seen now is rather than the ball being placed on the tee vertically, if you notice, that's what they tried to do. They did a classic onside kick. You place the ball straight up and down on that tee. The kicker is going to kick the top of that ball. You get an end over end and a high bounce, and you're hoping you get a recovery. Those don't work anymore in the NFL. It does not work. The ones that have more success are similar to what you suggested. I've also seen where the ball sideways, horizontally placed on the tee, and the kicker is going to go soccer style and basically spin that thing like a top and hope it goes 10 yards and you can get it to fall. But yeah, I've seen that a few times. The idea that let's just kick it off this, this big tight end or whoever they got on the line here and see if he'll, touch the ball, and then we'll get a play at it. But I believe you can look back, at the metrics and the analytics. Onside kick recoveries have got to be down significantly in the last couple of seasons since we've had the recent rule changes on kickoffs. But I agree. I think you've got to get creative. The thing that kind of screwed Detroit was him, the illegal touching. Obviously, it's kind of hard to time that when you're just trying to recover the ball. So yeah, it's tricky, man. The onside kick is all like, it's going to be rare when you see one recovered, and usually it is. It's something like that, contact by the receiving team, and then the ball pops loose, and now it's live ball, and you can recover it. But I always say the key is don't put yourself in a situation where you need that, because it ain't going to happen.
Right. That's the big thing. We got breaking news. It kind of applies to the Packers, but it's more about the Lions. So we just talked about, Ben Johnson and some of these other Aaron Glenn and some of these other coaches. I believe someone said Aaron Glenn's interviewing for a job today, but this is from Tom Pelissero on Good Morning Football just a second ago. Said a busy 48 hours ahead for the Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson and Ravens DC Mike McDonald, who are scheduled to interview for both remaining head coaching vacancies. So Ben Johnson from the Detroit Lions, their OC, and the Ravens DC Mike McDonald are scheduled to interview both of those.
Ravens DC is interviewing for a head coaching job?
Yes, that is correct. So
much for that.
Yeah. So when that happens, right, let's say he does get a job, and I'm not saying he will, but let's say Mike McDonald does get a job somewhere. What you're going to see the Ravens do now is they're going to sit back and go, okay, who's getting the most attention on our staff, right? And they're going to protect those guys. That's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to share the screen here, and let's just go to their coaching roster one more time. And I know we talked about it in a past podcast, but when you look at their coaching staff, we'll go full screen here for just a second. Let me get that off there. By the way, number one Packer fan says Dan Campbell, victim of too much diesel. Love it. But as far as the onside kick, the only thing I'll add on to that is if you try to kick it straight, Carly, a football is much, much harder to kick in a straight line on a line drive trajectory than a soccer ball. So it's not a slam dunk. Although you get them lined up in an onside kick set there, it'd be a little easier to hit that cluster of people, right? Just try to smack them right in the chest with it, right? There's been people that's done that in the past. There's also been kickers that they notice that as soon as they go to kick off, one of the front guys on the return team would immediately turn their back and sprint backwards, they would aim at their back and hit them in the back. I've seen that one too. But yeah,
You know
it's
what
just
else is cool too is sometimes you'll see the kicker approach like he's going to kick it, to the top of your screen, or like, he's going to kick one side, and then at the last second he'll turn soccer style and kick it to the bottom side.
right.
That can kind of give you a little of deception and maybe give you more of a chance to recover. But Clayton's right, man. Like, kicking a football is a crapshoot every time. Anyone who can do it with any kind of control is extremely talented.
I mean, think about it. Out of everybody on the face of the earth, the NFL can't find 32 people that can do it well.
Yep.
Right? Like, I mean, think about that. When I say well, like every year, I feel really comfortable saying there's not 10 kickers in the league that you go, oh yeah, that's a gimme there. You know what I mean? You might have 3, maybe 4 that you go, yes, they're going to, I mean, they are just, it's going to be very rare they miss a field goal. Just wild that of all the people on this ball of mud spinning through space, if you believe that. Key up the conspiracy music. I know there's some flat earthers out there, but anyway, anyone who it's all you can find is just 3 or 4 that can do it that well is just absolutely wild to me. So anyway, so if Mike McDonald does get a head coaching job, okay, let's just take a look real quick here. There's Mike McDonald. You can see my cursor, right, Tim?
Yep.
All right, so there's Mike McDonald. Okay, everyone else on that staff, obviously Chris Horton, special teams coordinator. You got Todd Monken, I should say, offensive coordinator. You got their assistant head coach, D-line coach, Anthony Weaver. I'm seeing some people say the Packers should go after Anthony Weaver, 12 years experience. Maybe that's not a rule, or maybe they don't know that it's a rule, that it would be a lateral. It would be a lateral move. With him being assistant head coach, we would have to make him assistant head coach in Green Bay, I thought. Maybe that's not the case. But nonetheless, they'll probably look to promote him to DC. So if you're the Baltimore Ravens and Mike McDonald does get a job, let's just say he did get a head coaching job, right? Then you've got a decision to make. Do we leave Anthony Weaver where he's at and risk losing him, right? Do we go down to our top candidates, which were Chris Hewitt, right here, right? Chris Hewitt, their passing game coordinator, secondary coach, or Denard Wilson, find him again down here. He's their D-back coach, okay, 12 years experience. You got those 3 guys, in my opinion, that I think are going to kind of get a lot of attention. So let's say Anthony Weaver gets 1 interview for DC, right? Let's say that Chris Hewitt gets 3 interviews for DC and Denard Wilson only gets 1. As a coaching staff, you've got to decide, all right, who do I want to protect here? He's getting more attention, right? So maybe you just go ahead and promote him to DC to block that move. That way you keep all 3 of them intact. You can see how it becomes a little bit of a cat and mouse game. You also probably look at it a little simpler from a head coaching position and go, who's the best guy? Who's the guy most qualified for the job? Let's just go ahead and promote him right now. You know what I mean? That's probably the way they'll approach it. But these kind of conversations are going to heat up now with all the coaching talk for sure. But what do you think about that, Tim? Do you think Mike McDonald actually has a chance to get a head coaching job somewhere?
See, that's tough. That's what I was just going to say. Like, their interviewing is great. And we talked about that, right? There's certainly an intent for a team to take you serious as a candidate if they're calling you in for an interview, but that's not a slam dunk. Some guys are great at the job, but they're terrible in an interview. So you never know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know enough about him. If he chokes in the interview, that could be the end. But he could be a Matt LaFleur and be super prepared and knock it out of the park and get a job. So, yeah, I don't know. I think time will tell, but I think it would be more interesting if he doesn't get a head coaching job to see what happens now, with that staff and what they're going to do. Will he return, as the DC if he goes and, looks to see if the grass is greener and then finds out it's not, what happens in Baltimore. But I'm with you. I like Chris Hewitt for sure. It has been one of my faves. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know enough about Mike McDonald, but I will tell you, 9 years in the league, he's a DC. Baltimore stout defense this year, last couple of years. You got to think he's a serious candidate, right?
Yeah, and it looks like 15 hours ago, Tom Pelissero reported the Seahawks can now interview Ravens DC Mike McDonald for their head coaching job this week. The Commanders are scheduled to conduct a second interview Monday with associate head coach. I don't know if he meant assistant head coach, but associate head coach, defensive line coach Anthony Weaver for their head coaching job. So the Commanders are setting up a second interview that it's already set up with Anthony Weaver today. So as their potential head coaching head coaching job. So,
Wow.
Yeah, sounds like he's probably the front runner, Anthony Weaver, as far as the coach on this staff to get a head coaching job. So let's say Mike McDonald does get hired out, Anthony Weaver gets hired out. That would be wild if both of those guys got hired as the next two head coaches, especially with them being defensive coaches. So now you're looking at which one of these defensive coaches is going to get promoted to head coach. Is it going to be Chris Hewitt? Is it going to be Denard Wilson? Who would it be, and who would be the assistant coach as well. So going to be interesting. There's going to be a lot of pieces fall into place today. I really believe that. I'm going to comb through Ian Rappaport real quick here and see if he's got anything else to add. Former Browns OC Alex Van Pelt is heading to Tampa to interview for the vacant Bucs OC job today, sources said. He's also still in play in Las Vegas for Raiders OC. You guys remember, if I remember correctly, Alex Van Pelt was an assistant here in Green Bay. That was the one that Aaron Rodgers got extremely upset when they let him go. I think they just cut him loose that year, and he was pissed off about that. I remember that. That's the thing too about Aaron getting mad over the players not being brought back. There's also coaches and things like that happened over the years too that he disagreed with. But Alex Van Pelt at the time was one of the highly touted names. Obviously, he's fizzled out a little bit, but so that's kind of how it looks on the coaching front as it sits right now. It says the Commanders and Seahawks can hire Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, Anthony Weaver, and Mike McDonald if they so choose. A coaching carousel set to end before the Super Bowl. So there's a good chance those two head coaching vacancies get filled even before the Super Bowl. And it sounds like some of the front runners, like I said, Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn being the DC in Detroit, which I don't see him as, I don't see him as a top candidate, me personally. It just, all the games that you've seen Detroit struggle with this year, it seems like people were able to score. Maybe that's just me remembering back to Thanksgiving Day when we just dog walked their defense the entire game. But good
Did
reason.
we get a confirmation on Pete Carroll yet with Seattle? Is he going to stay on as a advisor?
It's funny you bring that up because it is such a weird situation, Tim. We kind of talked about it a little bit earlier, and we steered away from it. So essentially, what happened was, it said that they mutually agreed for him to go up to the front office, right? And it was like, oh, okay, cool. So he's just, he's getting, he's in his 70s. Obviously, he's just going to kind of step aside and go to the front office. This is a mutual thing. And then he got interviewed right after it. And he said, I competed for the job. And we were like, what competed? What are you talking about? So he was in there trying to say, hey, look, I want to keep this job. So it wasn't just that we mutually agreed. It was more of them going, hey, look, you're not the head coach anymore. We'd like to keep you on staff, but we're not going to let you be head coach anymore. So the problem with him is it kind of lines up with Bill Belichick. Like, what organization is going to hire someone in that's in their 70s to, in 1, 2, maybe 3 years, they're going to step aside and you got to go through this whole process again unless they bring someone with them. And that's why with Bill Belichick, at least he brings Steven with him, and you can kind of expect Steven to rise to that.
I'll tell you one thing, though. Pete Carroll is the youngest 70-year-old man on earth.
No doubt.
If there was a guy, in his 70s that you might take a crack at and let him finish out his coaching career, it's probably Pete Carroll. But I think there in Seattle, that might have just been what's the word I'm looking at? Not a formality, but just the organization trying to do right by Pete Carroll, saying, hey, we want to move on from you as head coach, but we're not booting you out of the building. I don't know. Pretty interesting. I guess we'll see. Do you see him possibly going somewhere else if that doesn't pan out?
You talking about Pete Carroll?
Yeah.
I don't. Well, I mean, I could see him going somewhere else if Seattle ticked him off that much, I don't see a scenario where he's going to be a head coach anywhere. I just don't, man. And I could be wrong, but obviously there's only two spots. Nobody's interviewed for him. So it's kind of like with Belichick. Belichick, it heated up there in Atlanta, but I think Belichick went in there, and Michael Lombardi done a great job breaking it down the other day. Whether you agree with him or not, I think he brings up some really interesting points. Bill Belichick goes in there and goes, you've got all these people in place around Arthur Blank that are telling him, here's how we build this team. Well, they've been telling him that for years now, and they keep falling flat on their face. Then you got the guy who's won the most Super Bowls in NFL history comes in and says, all right, yeah, we would have to scrap this down. And gosh, what's his name? I just had it. Arthur Blank. Golly, drawing a blank. He comes back and kind of is like, no, I like my guys around me. And what Lombardi said, it happens all across the league. They're protecting their desk. They know if Bill Belichick, all these advisors, right, these evaluators that work for Arthur Blank and other owners, they know if Bill Belichick comes in, he's cleaning house. So what are they telling Arthur Blank?
Yep.
I don't think this is the right move for us. They're protecting their desk. So
Yep.
That's the cat and mouse game and the business side of pro football that I absolutely love. Mace Taggart in the chat. Thank you so much for the super chat, buddy. He says, morning, Clayton. Go, Pack, go. Love is the answer. Love is the answer. I'm so excited about it. I'm going back through my tweets from the year and the top plays that I tweeted in real time, and I'm retweeting them so we can kind of relive them. And what I'm going to do is try to pick out a handful of plays, and we're going to do a chalk talk from plays of the year. That'll be a lot of fun. And I thought we could just pull it from our old chalk talk segments, but also I think it'd be cool just to break it down fresh again. We may have both versions, but yes, love is the answer, Mace. Appreciate the super chat, buddy. Thank you so much.
It's my quarterback.
Jen Wright says, wasn't he a quarterback coach in Green Bay talking about Van Pelt? I'm pretty sure. Yes, he was. And he's the one that Rodgers it was one of his favorite coaches, so that's the thing that, again, you kind of playing devil's advocate. When you look at I was always of the opinion that shut up, play ball, let them decide on the coaches, right? That was how I always felt. But then when I hear Peyton Manning talk about how ridiculous it is that Aaron Rodgers doesn't have any kind of say in the personnel or anything else, that's when I got to step back and go, okay, this is one of the greatest all-time quarterbacks who's saying, no, this is wrong to think like this. Maybe me as a fan, I need to step back for a second and go, Tom Brady did the same thing, right? Tom Brady wanted more say. He leaves, goes, wins another Super Bowl. I think we got to say he was right, right? So you got two different scenarios where Peyton was cutting people off the practice field. Get him out of here. I don't want him on the roster. Like that happened. Pat McAfee told that story. Multiple Adam Vinatieri told that story. Multiple people told that story. That Peyton was cutting people off the roster around the field. Rodgers never went to that level, but he was, kind of like over the years, coaches, players got plucked off that roster without even saying, hey, what do you think about this move? I don't think Rodgers should have final say, but to just go behind him though and be like, we don't need to hear from you. That was a little bit like, after I hear Peyton and all these guys talk about it. So
I think you're right. You say input, right?
Yeah.
A quarterback like that, top tier, first ballot Hall of Fame level talent, you're going to want to get some input from that guy. But you're also going to want to make it abundantly clear that you're not the GM and you're not the head coach of this football team. So you can have all the input you want. At the end of the day, the organization is going to make a decision. And I think as long as that line is there and it's not blurred or crossed, you could have a really good relationship with a franchise QB who is in these meetings and is talking about personnel. And, his input is not going in one ear out the other. It's being seriously considered. But at the end of the day, I don't think we should have our guy out there, cutting personnel on the practice field. That's not a good look. So, but yeah, man, I think, top tier quarterbacks deserve that, especially guys with long tenure in the league, that have seen so many different players come and go. They may have a pretty good eye on talent, so I think you got to take their input and take it seriously.
Yeah. And again, the pendulum always swings to the extreme opposite, right? You got people that they should get absolutely no input. You got others that say they should just shut up and let him be GM. And it's like, I don't agree with either of those. It's just it is mind boggling that they literally just pretended like he didn't exist when it came to, making signings and stuff. And yeah, so there you go. So anyway, that's a little bit of coaching talk. I was going to kind of dive into the Detroit Lions coaching staff too here. I guess we could do it just to take a quick glance. And let's just see, because that's one we haven't looked at. Will we be interested in any of the Lions defensive coaches? And let's just see if any of these names kind of pop to you guys. To me, none of them did. and I'll try to get it zoomed in here enough where you guys can actually see this. Let's just take a quick glance at their defensive side of the ball. All right, defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn, he's got a little bit of praise, right? Can you see this okay, Tim?
Yep.
All right, cool. He's got a little bit of praise, obviously. Aaron Glenn, I haven't felt like that's a strength of their team. Maybe we should pull up the metrics. I've got them pulled up too, just to see where they rank. Defensive quality control, you got Wayne Blair, you got cornerbacks Dre Bly. He obviously played in the league. Defensive assistant, outside linebackers, David Carroll, maybe is how you say it. Assistant defensive line Cameron Davis. You got defensive backs Brian Duker. You've got defensive line coach John Scott Jr., Sean Dion Hamilton, assistant linebackers. You got John Fox. Look at old John Fox, senior defensive assistant. Someone mentioned that about Bill Belichick. What do you guys think about that? I want to hear. And Carly, you speak up at any point. I know you're busy over there too, but if you've got anything to say, you just speak over us, okay? But someone said, what about bringing Belichick in as a senior assistant? I think that would be an awesome move. Me personally, would he be willing to do it? He may. You see many coaches do that. They take a year off if they didn't get a head coaching job that they wanted, or just the stars didn't align, and they'll go in and be like a senior advisor. That might be a role that he would be interested in, that would be kind of cool. But John Fox, senior defensive assistant, obviously has a ton of experience. Linebacker coach Kevin Shepard, and then Dre Thompson, the WCF minority coaching assistant, defensive quality control there. So I don't really see anything there that catches my attention, Tim. I mean, Aaron Glenn's obviously the biggest name that we've heard of, but anybody there that kind of piques your interest? Like I said, John Fox probably got the most experience of everyone. But
yeah, and I don't see John Fox. He's been a head coach. He's been a DC, I believe. Is that true? So
he's been
ran
head
coach. He's ran the gamut as far as experiences, and that guy's probably on the his last hurrah swan song years of his coaching. So I don't know if he wants to go be the dude again somewhere, but you look at a guy like that, I don't see anyone else here that's super exciting as far as adding to our staff.
I agree. I completely agree. And now let's do this. Let's just make sure we're not overlooking anything. Let's look at the team statistics, okay? And just kind of see where Detroit ranked, because I feel like their defense isn't as good as some give them credit, right? And you guys just enjoy the free advertising here, okay, as we promote Direct Auto now. So here we go. Let's kind of dive in here. This is opponent points per play. Can you see that okay, Tim? Is it on the screen yet? All right, good deal. Good deal. Let me go ahead.
We're going to take Drew's comment down here for.
Yeah. Well, that'd be good. Okay. So when you look at the team statistics as far as opponents' points per play, where does Detroit land? 28th in points per play.
Right? Hello.
Yeah, not a good look there. Make sure it's sorted correctly. It is. So now let's go to scoring defense points per game, just to make sure there's not a little immediate outlier. Actually, I did points per play again. Let's go again here. As the ads take over, you love it. Absolutely love it. Scoring defense, opponent points per game. It should be somewhere around the same ranking there. 25th. So they climbed a little bit in points per game. I always take points per play over points per game. That's just me personally. Because if you do turn the ball over inside your 20 or whatever, and it takes them 3 plays to score rather than just one, I think that's worth mentioning, just every little statistic you can get. So horrible in scoring defense. Or some people going, that's not important. Okay, let's talk about rushing. All right, let's go to yards per rush attempt, opponent yards per rush attempt. Let's see where Detroit lands here. Did I pass them up? I must have. So they're 8th in rush defense as far as yards per attempt. To me, that's the metric you want to look at. Like how many yards are they getting per attempt? So they're 8th best in that. So they're a solid top 10 run defense in that regard. Let's go to passing, which we know that's all the rage right now. Let's go to yards per pass attempt allowed by their defense. 30th in yards per pass attempt. So, and you kind of seen it last night too, right? We talked about the helmet play, right, Carly? Yeah. It's that plays into it too, but it's like when you're 30th in allowing how many yards you allow per pass attempt, Not a good look. I don't want anybody from that staff. That's just me personally. I just don't see it. Because like when you go back to the top, look at the teams we're talking about. Baltimore, Kansas City. The Jets were really good at stopping the pass, right? Cleveland, San Francisco is one we've talked about a lot. New England, you guys, I've talked about them a lot. New England, 6.2, right? And they're, let's see, 8th. It's wild that we didn't interview anyone from them. All right, let's go to their rush defense real quick just to see how good New England was at stopping the run. Look at that. Very top of the list, yards per carry. So it's just wild that more people aren't getting hired out of that New England defensive room. It really is. But anything stick out to you there, Tim, as far as anybody on Detroit? I think that pretty much solidifies it. I'm not interested in anyone from Detroit.
Yeah, me too. And I'm with you. I'd be trying to pilfer New England staff before going to Detroit. So
yeah, definitely. Their scoring defense wasn't as good, but that's where you got to put things into perspective and go, okay, their offense was historically bad, right? So those do come into play. That's why when I look at Green Bay's defense and we finish right around the top 10 in scoring defense, and then you turn around and you go, okay, every other metric, they're kind of sitting there somewhere, like against the run. I should have looked that up. Actually, I won't share the screen again, but if I were to go to per rush attempt, right, Green Bay is sitting at 24th. Obviously not good, but still there's 8 other teams that are worse than them stopping the run. And we know that's kind of on the back burner in today's defense. Let's see what their passing defense was. Let's see if it's as bad as people kind of made it out to be. Yards per pass attempt, Green Bay finished 18th. So you got a top 10 scoring defense. You're 18th in stopping the pass, and then you're right around 20th or whatever it was, 24th in stopping the run. You can definitely get better, but you got to be careful too, because when you look on this list, and I know that Christian Parker is the one who's kind of emerged stopping the pass. They were 27th, right? I mean, there was all kinds of metrics they were bad at. They were 27th. Rush defense, yards per rush attempt. Denver was.
You don't have that on the screen, Clayton. Just letting you know if you were going to show it.
Right. Yeah. I'll just read them all.
Okay.
Denver was dead last in yards per rush attempt. Dead last. So this whole notion that, let's just get a new guy in here. Joe Barry's the problem. You got to be careful. We got to be careful of that. That's why I'm like, why are we not looking at New England's defense closer? Right. And then some people were probably saying, Clayton, you were big on, scoring defense. That was your big thing all year. And I agree. I think it's the most important aspect, me personally. I know many people disagree, but if you go to look at Denver's scoring defense, they're 26th. So there's nothing really there. We look at the PFF grades. The PFF grades suggest they've underperformed. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It's a weird hire, but again, it was a weird hire for Matt LaFleur too, right?
Right.
So,
and the moment.
Go ahead.
Can I ask? Yeah, a question about the Lions' defense and not hiring anyone from them. Since seemingly a lot of our draft picks and a lot of our guys just kind of lean more naturally to being better at stopping the pass, wouldn't we maybe consider taking someone from a defense that is so good at stopping the run, since that's kind of where we've sucked this year, and then that hopefully might balance it out a little bit? Or do you think it would just be a total catastrophe and make us suck in stopping the pass?
That's the thing. Like the league is it's such a copycat league. Like teams create a blueprint every year on how to be successful. And that blueprint changes, in my opinion, about every 3 to 5 years. You can see it kind of turn over because offenses catch on, defenses catch on. When you look at the top 3 score, the goal, I think can we all agree here for just a second? I want to make sure I'm not completely off base. The goal is to prevent the other team from scoring points, right? That's still our goal as a defense. I just want to make sure we're on the same page, because many people are like, scoring defense, that's a BS metric. Get it out of here. It's like, so we're tallying up rushing yards to determine who's going to the Super Bowl? Is that what we're doing here? So if you look at the top scoring defenses, Baltimore, Kansas City, San Francisco, all right, how do they approach it, Carly, right? That's the question. Like I said, Baltimore's the number 1 scoring defense. Kansas City's number 2. San Francisco's number 3. Passing defense and yards per pass attempt, Baltimore's number 1. Kansas City's number 2. San Francisco's number 5. So you see the common thread there, right? Now, rushing yards per attempt, Baltimore 23rd, Kansas City 25th, San Francisco 17th. So to answer your question, if you see, okay, we're weaker at stopping the run than the pass, let's go get someone who will stop the run. And like you suggested, you kind of answered your own question. If the pass defense now takes a step back, you're not following the current blueprint in the NFL to be successful in preventing the other team from scoring points. If that makes sense. That's how I see it. I could be wrong. I'm just a fan. I'm no expert, obviously. You can tell by the accent. But that's how I look at it, like ciphering it out and going, okay, how does this play out? Now, let me give you an example. The fourth best scoring defense in points per play was Tampa Bay. They were 25th at stopping the pass, right? And 7th at stopping the run. So you're going, okay, they had some success doing that, right? But we've seen what happened to Tampa early in the playoffs, right? They got absolutely cooked. Tell you another team that's similar to that. They're not on my rankings. They're not good enough to be on these rankings where I took basically the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the sixth, the top 6 scoring defenses. Dallas, another example. What did we do to Dallas? We ran the ball right down their freaking throat, right? Now, here's the thing. I don't think this is going to change dramatically in this specific conversation about what's the secret to having a good defense and a good scoring defense specifically. But this thing they do change a little bit, right? They do adjust. The league becomes kind of cyclical. If you looked at the game last night, let me just pull this up real quick. The 49ers Lions. I was looking at the box score, and let's see kind of who had the better game running the ball, right? If you look at the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey had 20 carries for 90 yards. They averaged 4.5 yards a carry, right? David Montgomery for the Lions had 15 carries for 93 yards, okay? So they averaged 6.2 yards a carry, the Lions did, and they lost the game, right? Well, if you go look at the defenses, what makes San Francisco's defense so good? It's not their rush defense. It's their pass defense. They're 5th in yards per pass attempt. So people don't want to hear it. I'm trying not to laugh, but it's the definition of bend but don't break. And
I just want them to get somebody that helps not make the run game be our kryptonite, right? I want somebody that can help with the run game while not totally turning our pass defense game into a disaster. I want to have my cake and eat it too, Clayton. Come on here. I can dream, right?
I'll tell you what, I'm with you. Yeah, give me top 5 in every statistical category, Carl. Sign me up. I'll take 2.
What you want is a balanced, well-rounded defense is what you're saying. And that's the goal. And it's constantly an uphill battle when you're trying to do that. Most teams are going to be better at one side than the other. It is what it is. It's tough to be stout against the run and then, lock down, shut down against the pass. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. And that's why you've got to pick and choose. You've got to say, okay, like, why did they hire Joe Barry, and why did they go with the Fangio style system? We talked about it last night. I'm not going to bore y'all with the details again, but just vaguely, it was stop explosives on both the pass and the run. Let's make this defense, before we make them great, let's make them mediocre. Let's just not be bad. And that's exactly what Joe Barry did. Joe Barry, more sacks, more pressures, all of that, right? Their run defense got better. Their pass defense took a slight step back. But like we pointed out, the majority of the explosives came against man coverage. So when you look at it where the defense is at, now you're bringing someone in to take them from mediocre to top 10. That's the goal, right? Well, we're already a top 10 scoring defense. So what's the next step? It would be pass defense. So who are they interviewing? Christian Parker, right? Bobby Babbage. Bobby Babbage was a DB coach and now a linebacker coach for Buffalo, right? So you're seeing they're kind of gearing it around. That's why the first thing I look for, once you get past your available defensive coordinator pool that you could potentially hire, the next step is passing game coordinator, because that's their specialty, stopping the pass. And that's where the league is geared to. Now, how has Goody built this roster? We've talked about this over and over and over, right? Our defensive linemen are pass rush specialists, right? And they are pretty close to being booty cheeks at stopping the run. They're geared around stopping the pass. That's how our roster is built. Quay Walker, why did we choose Quay Walker as a draft pick and try to make him a mock? He's a physical freak. He can cover sideline to sideline. The problem is it's not here yet. You see him sitting in space and just allowing guys to catch the ball. And the easy argument all year was Joe Barry told him to do that. I'm sorry. Joe Barry didn't tell him to sit in a space with 8 yards free of a defender and go, just stand right there, Quay. Don't worry if anyone is in your zone or not. He's not reading and recognizing as quick. Devondre did that really well 2 years ago. Now, is it the injuries? Is it the age? He took a step back. We got to get us a mock in the middle, man. We got to get a mock that's and I know everybody wants a Fred Warner. It doesn't even have to be Fred Warner. Give me a top 10 middle linebacker, because Quay isn't that right now, and he may be this year, and I hope he is. I got the autographed jersey right over there on the wall. Love Quay. I think he's got all the tools to be a great linebacker. Here's the other thing, too. Think about Roquan Smith in Chicago. Booty cheeks.
Yep.
They get rid of him. He goes to Baltimore. Boom, he blows up. Why is that? Good coaching? Did it finally click? He's got the same type of physical talent that Quay Walker has as far as, quickness, strength, speed, agility, all those things, right? Maybe the right
guys hit their stride a little later than others too. Some guys come in and tear up the league right away, and then some guys, it's like, man, year 3, it's like, whoa,
yeah,
takes a huge leap.
That's why Johnny Rollins was like my top pick for DC, right?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make sure I get the name right here. I've talked about Johnny Holland. Listen,
Holland, yeah,
I'm talking about
a
baseball player. I'm talking about a baseball player from the 80s. There you go. Johnny Holland. The reason he was my pick is because, like, okay, he was a linebacker coach. He's got 36 years experience in the NFL, including like 7 as a player, whatever it was as a player. He's a former Packer, which I didn't know that going in, but he's the most experienced coach on that entire staff in San Francisco. And he's the one who could probably pull the most out of Quay. You add in someone like a Bobby Wagner, someone who's a little more established, that's proven, okay, look, he's going to be grading out somewhere in the 70s, according to PFF. Or if you look at passer rate, people hear that and they go, well, that's your problem. You're leaning on PFF. Okay. Yes, Devondre Campbell had a low PFF grade, although he did grade out 65. That was our highest linebacker. If you go look at passer rating when targeted, 155, worse than the league. That's an issue, right? To me, that's the stat that's going to really judge a player on how well they play in coverage when they're targeted. So they were the 5th best passing defense. So I'm hoping that maybe Holland, someone like that. And again, you got the illness too. He's been battling an illness. So many people say he's not in the running for DC. Maybe they did reach out and he's like, no, I'm just not in a good enough position to pack up my family, move across the country and go coach somewhere else and take on more stress, more responsibility. But maybe someone like a Chris Hewitt. I'm not going to fake being excited about Christian Parker. I trust the process. And again, I was wrong on Matt LaFleur. I could definitely be wrong on Christian Parker. But when I look at the PFF grades from his position group, when I look at the statistics, their team statistics and scoring, pass defense, all that, there's nothing that says that's the guy other than he coached 2 years with Matt LaFleur, and Matt LaFleur seems to like to hire people that he gets along with. That's kind of the first and foremost. All right, who would be a good fit for my staff? I hope he comes in and rips it up, man. I really do. How cool would it be that if he comes in and completely flips his defense, if he is hired, which, by the way, I don't know, Tim, that report looking a little weird now, ain't it, man? That, and we really try to cover our bases. And I think Andrew was relaying what he heard, and maybe it will still happen. But right now it's kind of like,
you sure about that?
Yeah, exactly correct. So I don't know, man, but we may get us some interviews today. Y'all guys got any comment on any of that rambling I just did for about what felt like 2.5 hours?
Yeah.
What the hell's going on out here?
I love it. Let's see. Cheesehead Murph agreed with something though. Carly said, Carly took the word right out of my mouth. Great question. Probably one of the question you asked earlier. Drew D says each team has to turn into the league their organizational structure. Gotcha. So they have to be up front. It's kind of like sharing the tape, right, Drew? Doug Pointer says, I'm just speculating, but wouldn't a single guy with real talent be able to affect rushing yards per attempt, whereas you need several guys to change pass yards per attempt, like a stud linebacker? I think the biggest issue with stopping the run comes from how we draft. We're drafting players. It's almost like first and foremost, they're going, okay, how is he in the pass rush, rather than how do they play the run? And again, I can't argue with it because, you look at across the league, the top scoring defenses, that's what they're keying in on, is stopping the pass. So
I think it's scheme too, though, right? I mean, if you're going to make an effort to stop the run, you're probably going to drop safeties down into the box. You're probably going to be a little more aggressive with your secondary, which, of course,
you're going to play less man coverage.
Yep. And that does what? That opens you up over the top. If you're dropping, heavy nickel blitz, or you've got safeties playing down in the box, you're exposed on the back end, and a good offense will check out of that run and light you up. So,
absolutely. Drew D says, I have a feeling tonight we might be talking about our DC hire on PTA. I hope so, Drew. I'm ready to get that behind us and start moving forward and looking at, okay, what does this guy bring to the table? I'm excited about covering the introductory press conference, all that stuff. You know what I mean?
You sure about that?
I'm excited to be that fan that tries to fight off the hashtag fire insert name line too, because that stuff drives me absolutely insane. But it's just, and again, you look at what, Green Bay's defense and how we've just been in this endless cycle of hire, fire. I think it has a lot to do with how we draft. And, you take a combination approach, right? You're obviously drafting to stop the pass, right? First and foremost. But then you put all the emphasis on the athletic build, right? The athletic profile. What that screams is someone who is a physical freak, but maybe not as high a football IQ, and they're geared towards stopping one facet of the game. That's how you end up with these situations where guys are just standing in space and not covering people, right? So It should be a good balance, is all I'm saying. So, but I think you're right, Drew. We might have that this evening. Andres in the chat said, which team do you think is a better, well-rounded team, KC or San Francisco? Man, that's a great question. Just on the surface, based off of what we've seen in playoff football. What I seen with Kansas City was they played patient. They were willing to take what the defense gave them all day long. It was just dink and dunk, dink and dunk, dink and dunk. You've seen him, Patrick Mahomes, having plenty of time to throw in the pocket. They protected well, right? You've seen the officials lean toward Kansas City. I don't care what anybody says. Anytime one team has 8 penalties and the other has 3, that's a bad look on the league, especially seeing that the camera's continuing to shoot up to Taylor Swift in the box. You get what you deserve there, league. You're setting yourself up to be criticized and be called, a fixed league. But I can't stand Pat Mahomes, man. I never thought it would get to this point. Did you see him, what he was doing to Justin Tucker before the game? Did you guys see that?
That was Kelsey. Kelsey was being the prick.
No, bro. Go watch it. Kelsey did it, and then Pat Mahomes walks over and kicks his tee down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay, I'll tell you what I did see. I did see the whole game. Was it just me? Am I the only one who every single time they did a cut shot to Pat Mahomes, that dude was talking to an official? I mean, it was like the whole game was Pat Mahomes talking to an official. And it's like, dude, like, who are you, the head of the officiating crew, or are you a quarterback? Like, it just boggles my mind. And then you saw a lot of that too, a lot of Kansas City getting away with murder, like all night long with the extra stuff after the play. And then we get, no calls. But then the minute Baltimore breathed on somebody wrong, it's a, 15-yard personal foul. Oh, we got footage. Look at this. I love it.
All right, let me turn the volume down here real quick. So this was, you see Justin Tucker stretching right there, right? He's got his balls set up, and what kickers do is they'll start at the goal line, and they move it back 5, move it back 5, move it back 5, and they're trying to find their range, right? So you see Justin Tucker there. Now you see Pat Mahomes warming up. First, you'll see Kelsey come in. I think this is the whole video.
Oh, right? Okay. So now, I only saw
see Kelsey throwing his helmet, his balls, everything out of the way. We're warming up right here, right? So what's Justin Tucker? Okay. There's another video. I need to find it because there's a video where Justin Tucker goes to kick. So that's the one you seen, Tim. Let me see.
Yeah, that's the one I saw.
Yeah.
And it's important to remember, too, that both teams, you have your sides of the field or whatever. Everyone has equal rights to warm up on that field pregame, if I'm not mistaken.
Right. So. No, absolutely, man. And it's like, who was there first, too, is the thing. It's just, and I don't know. That bothered me. Let me see if I can find the one because he walks over and kicks the tee down, too. If I could find
a lot of respect for Justin Tucker handling that like a total pro. He's just kind of laughing it off.
Oh, yeah, he definitely was. Yeah, here's a good one right here. So he grabs his tee back, picks his stuff back up, right? I'm going to share it here real quick with you guys. He goes and picks his tee back up, sets it up, and now watch Pat Mahomes. So it wasn't just him. It wasn't just our boy Kelsey. Let me get zoomed in here. So now you see Kelsey's out there running routes and stuff, right? I'm assuming, right? Now, watch right here. See Pat kick it?
Yeah.
Look, he's getting ready to kick his extra point. Pat kicked his tee down.
I want to use a word that I can't use on the show right now, but I think you know where I'm going.
Yeah. And then look, he just walks over to him, smacks him in the chest. And look, Kelsey's talking crap, but won't look at him, right? Now look, here he goes. He's trying to set it up again, right? So look, he sets it up one more time. And look, Pat.
Yeah.
That's just crazy, dude. I'm sorry.
That cracks me up.
Where the heck are the other Ravens?
Right.
Where are his teammates? Because like you come into my building in a playoff game, championship game, and start pulling that crap.
Yeah, and it's not
I'd like to have some guys, backing me up over there. There's Justin Tucker on an island by himself,
and it's not like Pat Mahomes had to throw from that exact spot either. You know what I mean? It's like I don't know. It's just a bad look, man. Bad look. What were you gonna say, Carla?
No, it cracks me up seeing this sort of stuff in professional football, like the little head games and this stuff. I just think it's really entertaining.
Yeah, so you like it? You don't have a problem with it?
I mean, I think there's probably a little bit of attitude going on both sides. I mean, he does go and set right in the middle of them to kick, and that's kind of inviting it. And then they're doing that. I think they're grown-ups. They can do that. I don't think it's that big a deal.
Gotcha. And that's the big question too, right? Who was there first? Or like middle schoolers. I was here first. Who was actually there first? Pat Mahomes he just rubs me the wrong way. When they got the roughing call, I think it should have been called roughing, but the way he flails when he goes down, throws his arms around and everything. Go back. I need to go back to my tweet from last year. Remember when they played the Bengals and he got the roughing call out of bounds? And it's like he gets shoved out of bounds and he goes completely limp and throws himself into the bench. And it's just like, get away from me with that crap, dude.
Yeah.
Maybe I've watched too many old NFL films of Ray Nitschke and Jack Lambert and Bart Starr and these guys that were they had too much pride to flop like that. And we laughed about Zach Tom earlier this year going completely parallel when he got shoved down, right? It's like, me as a player, I just couldn't bring myself to do that, man. I couldn't. I've got too much pride.
I don't think guys like Mahomie would last very long in that era of football, honestly.
Oh, no.
You can get up off the turf and look around at the refs and cry for a roughing the passer call all you want. You weren't getting it.
Back to Andres' question. We got way off track. Which team do you think is a better, well-rounded team, KC or San Francisco? I don't know if we actually answered your question. When you kind of look at how they're built, for me, it's probably, I hate to say it, but it is probably Kansas City. Kansas City is one of those teams. I hate to say this because I'll be honest. After seeing that stuff with Kansas City, I'm probably pulling for San Francisco. To be honest with you, like I'm not really going to be pulling for anyone, but I just want to see Mahomes fall flat on his face after that crap. And after all the sideshow stuff this year, and I don't know, man. I just
look at it this way. If I'm going to cheer at all, I'll just say it's the NFC against the AFC. So I'll roll with the NFC in this Super Bowl. We'll just leave the teams and the specifics out of it because I can't stand either one of them.
I got you. I would think Kansas City is the more well-rounded team. Let me ask you this: which coach are you taking? Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan?
Andy Reid 100% of the time.
Which quarterback you taking? You got one game to win: Brock Purdy or Pat Mahomes? I'm going Pat Mahomes.
Taking that little, well, whatever.
Anyway, I'm going Pat Mahomes. And then when you go to edge defenders, who's got the better edge defenders, right? You got Chris Jones, who can move around all around the defensive line for Kansas City. But San Francisco, you've got Bosa, right? So that's really close. I may lean toward Bosa. 2 out of the 3, I'm probably going Kansas City. What do you think, Carly? Which one do you think's the better team there, Kansas City or San Francisco?
Oh, better probably Kansas City. I feel like, with the coaching and just both sides of the ball, but I'm really rooting for Purdy because I like his story.
I do too. I really do. And he seems really humble too. That's what I like about him. One side, you got a guy that's doing this. I know you don't. It's funny that you don't disagree with it, but the kicking of the tee and just the cockiness and all the commercials and it's just the flopping. I look at Brock Purdy and I'm like, that dude just does whatever he's got to do to help his team win. What do you think, Tim? I guess you chose, didn't you?
Yeah, I definitely Kansas City, probably.
Okay, yeah, gotcha.
As much as that pains me to say.
All right.
But I can tell you this: if they try those antics, before the Super Bowl, there's going to be fights prior to the game because the 49ers, they're not going to put up with that crap. Come over and start messing with our guys, Especially after seeing that, it's not like it's a secret now. But I'm sure the guys that have dealt with this, they know what it's like when you're playing against the Chiefs and everything that comes with that circus of the the Kelsey and Mahomes circus that comes to town all the time. So
yeah,
I don't know. We'll see. Leave my kickers alone out there, though. Jeez, man.
And I'll kick the bloody piss out of it.
I love it. Absolutely love it. I'm sure Paul's got something good for us here in a second. All right, let's wrap up in the chat real quick. God, I just dropped one down I was going to hit. It's lost forever. I apologize for whoever that was. I wish I could rewind the stream. Anyway, Prince in the chat says, can they interview in secret and release names to throw off possible competitors for DCs? Kind of like what goes on around the draft. Like we said, that all that stuff, the league is very, very strict on having to release and be completely transparent with each other because it creates more competitive balance, which I agree with. So Prince says Mahomes grew up playing football, not football, where flopping is an art form. Did he really play soccer? I didn't know that.
I thought he was a baseball player.
Yeah, he definitely played baseball. That's the other thing, too, that's hard for me to kind of stomach is he grew up with a silver spoon in his mouth. His dad was a professional athlete. His wife has pretty much annoyed everyone. I don't know. It's just a hard sell for me. Doug in the chat says Forrest Gregg and Mike Ditka had a pregame brawl in the hallway adjoining their locker rooms at Soldier Field back in the 80s. I remember them talking about going to meet after the game too, like the whole team and the coaching staff. They were like, yeah, we'll just meet out here in the parking lot after it's over. Like, I just can't imagine Pat Mahomes going on the field with some of those folks from the 80s and the 70s.
I'd pay to see it, though, if it was possible.
Oh, God, I'd sign me up, boy. A-Fam in the chat said, if Purdy wins, Taylor Swift might be like, who's this Purdy guy? Leave Kelsey. There you go.
Roadhouse.
To the side. All right, we're off the rails. We're talking. Taylor Swift has entered the chat, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this thing up. Let's go around the horn one time here. Carly, what else you got? Anything else you want to cover? Anything else? Any comments on what we just talked about?
So I have it's not really a conspiracy theory, but this thoughts on why Kelsey has just kind of played so bad all year. And I have followed it because he was my first round pick in my fantasy league, who then ended up just being cheeks and causing me to not win money. Anyway, so I think this relationship with Swift, I think he's been overall the season probably partying a little bit too much and taking it a little too easy. I think this end of the season, he's really focused a lot more. And I think, so I'm kind of making a prediction. I think he's going to come out and have one of his best game in the Super Bowl. I think that they're going to win. And I think he might choose then to retire and be done and retire with his brother, enter Canton with his brother. I think that might be, if he wins, I think that might be coming.
I could see that. And then she dump him in the off season and he wants to get back in football, right? That would happen.
And then she writes her next album all about football and dating a football player and all the heartache that comes with it. And it ends up being a bestseller or a top hit.
Carly, you've read the script. Somebody gave you the script for next year, didn't they? Somebody gave you the script. I love it. Look at this right here. Doug says, Swifty fan total access. Order your merch now.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
By the way,
You sure about that?
we got bad news on the merch
Sure
store.
about that?
We got some items taken down again, so I don't know what else to do. Evidently, you're not allowed to put anything on a shirt nowadays. I think what it has to do is the site we're using is really strict, and that's a good thing. But the Packer fan total access stuff should be good to go. But I'm thinking now we're not allowed to use the word diesel because that is a clothing line. So we can't put diesel on anything, right? Which is absolutely wild. You're not allowed to put, I guess you can't use gas either. I don't know. But anyway, we're adjusting some stuff. So hopefully we'll get it straightened out where you guys can order some merch because there's been several orders placed and you're going to get refunded for it. Now, if you did the Packer fan total access shirt, whatever, that should be good to go. I tried to order a mug yesterday that said Green Bay football on it, right? Or no, it said diesel on it too, but there was another one too, Green Bay football. I think it got canceled as well, but I got to call them and see exactly which part of this order got canceled because I ordered a ton of merch so we could give it away. And they just don't like us being nice to listeners, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, there you go. So try lowercase Jen said, hey, all right. Yeah, we can do that. We'll figure it out. We'll get you guys some merch for sure, though. Like I said, there should be a couple of items that are still up, and we'll try to work out the kinks. But anyway, we appreciate y'all wanting to support the stream. Y'all are trying really, really hard. But yeah, capitalism is attacking here with full force. But Tim, you got anything else, buddy?
No, I can't. My head hurts just thinking about what we just talked about with Kansas City. I'm sorry. I just might have an aneurysm right now. I really hope they do, like, just one more for Andy Reid, swan song, the last hurrah, and then we can just watch that, organization slowly demise. I'm over it. Absolutely over it.
That's awesome.
Some of those calls mind-boggling. It's the no calls that got me. Like, I get, okay, look, there was some stupid stuff that Baltimore did, but some of the no calls on Kansas City, dragging receivers to the ground, the interception in the end zone, I don't think it's the reason the ball was intercepted. It was a stupid throw into triple coverage. But you got a defender, the ball's 5 yards away, and you got a defender running through the receiver with his back to the ball. It's just like, how do you – this looks bad. This looks really bad on the league, really bad. So, anyway, there you go. We hit conspiracies. We hit coaching changes. I'm with Drew. I think that we – look at Prince. It's hilarious. I think that we may be talking about a DC hire as early as tonight, unless they got their eyes on someone on San Francisco or Kansas City. That could be the case too. But Prince in the chat said Kelsey twins WWE Tag Team Champions in 2026. I wouldn't doubt it one bit. So AFAM says, Tim, hate to tell you, buddy, but the Chiefs aren't going anywhere, unfortunately. So yeah, it's going to be a while, I believe.
You sure about that?
What was Jen's idea, Carly? I missed it.
Oh, she said try using the money sign for the S in diesel.
Gotcha. Okay. We may do that then. Look at Jen. I like Jen. Jen's a rule breaker.
Who the hell is still people still wear diesel clothing? I'm sorry.
Yes, Jen, they do. I don't know, man. Yeah.
I haven't seen anybody.
I haven't either. I don't know. I'm not up on fashion though, as you guys can tell.
Yeah,
I go back and forth. I get it's amazing how many grown men have commented on my hair. It's really weird, to be honest with you. But also, I get told by my wife that, like, here, just wear this. You don't know what the hell you're doing. Put this on, please. You look like a bum. So, I know it's hard to believe seeing that every episode we do, I'm wearing a hoodie, but you know how it is. And of course, we don't have we don't roll with the narcissist cam either, do we, Tim? Let's get them with the narcissist cam real quick, right? You ready for this? Let's do it. Nope, that ain't even it. We got to get it.
Oh, there it is.
People that podcast like that, I don't know how they do it, man. I'm a nervous wreck just being on screen. I want to kill the camera, but I got roasted for not having the camera active. But I do, yeah. Tim will comment all the time. He's like, "There's the narcissist cam." Like, let me get my entire face on the screen if possible. AFAM says, "Who in their right mind extends the ball like that?" What's he talking about? Extends the ball like that.
Was he talking about the play where Flowers got it knocked out of knocked out of his hand because he tried to make the touchdown?
Yeah, I'm sitting on my couch having a daddy soda, about 20 pounds overweight, and I'm going, "How do you not hold that thing in here like this, Tim? Why not dive like this? Why are you?" I'm over here judging a player for extending the ball, but it is a bad look, man. They're trying to coach it out of the league because it's there, and I know there's some people that are like, they need to change the rule. I completely disagree with that. You got to protect the football, man.
Yep, in that situation.
The game gets to the point where, well, let's put the possessing the football on the back burner. I think we're losing our sport. So anyway.
Amen.
Yeah. Andre said, put your face on the back. have one of those images where it's my face over my face over my face over my face. So it's like going off in the distance. God, I would lose my mind. You'd never see me podcast again. Anyway, we're out of here. Appreciate you guys. This was a lot of fun. It's time to go when Margin Cron says affliction total access. There you go. All right, everybody, thank y'all so much for your time. This was a lot of fun. Want to give a special shout out to Mace Taggart. Thank you for the super chat, buddy. We appreciate you supporting the stream. Tim, Carly, this was a blast. We will be back tonight for Packers Total Access Live. Hopefully we have some coaching news. That would be cool if we made a hire, although I wouldn't be surprised if it drags into next week. But if a couple of these if these final two head coaching vacancies get filled somehow, some way, some of the OCs and DCs fall into place, then that might accelerate the process. And who knows, we maybe get an answer this evening. So really appreciate y'all. Listen, thank you guys so much for trying to support the stream and purchase the merch. Like, you guys are awesome. And I know you guys just want to rep the brand, if you will. But I really, it means the world to us. We're going to try to get it straightened out. And if you did place an order, you're going to get refunded if it was an item that did get kind of didn't get approved. I just want to make sure you guys and gals know how much we appreciate you. You've been just unbelievable to us. And it's been so much fun creating this thing. And we're going to have to adjust stuff as we go. It's just a part of it. It goes with it. Like, the podcast will be named Packer Fan Total Access, just to make sure we're not doing anything wrong, that type of thing. There may be a limit on certain images we can use. We'll adjust as we go. Please don't think it's us trying to quote unquote sell out or change what we're doing. It's just we want to make sure we're doing right by the Packers too. And I'm in direct communication with them, trying to make sure that we're covering all the bases and that type of thing. So first and foremost, we want to support our favorite team. That's at the top of the list. So thank you all for hanging out with us. Thank you for your support. We will see you guys tonight. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world, and go Pack Go.